Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we'll be designing in Canvas Workspace a tugboat for a tugboat card. And this is what you're going to be making. This little tugboat that you can place on a card or of course use for anything, any kind of decoration, especially for children. And it isn't very difficult to do. It's just basic shapes really. But if you stick with me, I'll show you how. I'll start with the hull of the boat. So for that, I want to use a rectangle that has some brownness to it. So this one should work fine. It's the one in the center at the very bottom of that element there. So I'm going to duplicate that. Zoom in a bit. What we're going to do is have the one here, color that just so I can make sure that it is on top when I go to process this, and it's in the back at the moment, but what I want to do is pull it a little larger, a little wider than the one underneath. Bring it to the front. And then I can kind of get an idea of what my shape is going to look like. And this is what I want to remain, that dark brown there. This will be gone. So it's going to cut a piece out of this to leave that shape. So I'm going to highlight it, and under Edit, I'm going to align it to the center. And then I'll go to Process Overlap and choose Subtract. And there is my hull. And I can play with the shape of that a little more. Bring it like that. And then I want to now place a rim along the top. To do that, I'm going to use this very same shape. I'm going to duplicate it a couple of times here. This is my hull, and that's going to stay as it is. I'm going to have this and this cut out. So what I'm going to do is this, the orange is what I want to remain. So I want to pull the one that's on top up until I get about the shape that I'm looking for, which is about like that. So I can highlight it and align it, then use the subtract function from the process overlap, and there is my rim. So I can bring my hull up, and you can see how that's going to sit on top, except that I want to make that a little bit wider than the hull itself. Another thing I want to do is just to rotate it slightly, give it the impression that it's moving up out of the water. So I can pull that up and a little bit closer so I can see. Just play with it till you get it looking about like you like. And that should be pretty good. Right, now I'll highlight those and group them so that I can keep them together while I start work on the cabin. And for that, I'm going to need another rectangle. I'm going to choose this one. So it's the one at the top. Again, it's in the middle. It has a slightly rounded corner there. So I'm going to give that some color as well. I'll put it behind so I can see what it's going to look like. Right. And actually what I'll do now is, before I do all that, I'm going to get this to the size that I want. And I want this to be just under 5 inches. So let's bring it down, maybe to about there. Let's go at 4 3/4. That should be all right, thereabouts. And now we can bring this back in. I want to put some windows or portals in here as well as a door. So I'll have a circle for my window, and for the door I'm going to choose this one here. I'm going to rotate that. So change the angle to 90 so that it's upright now. And then I can start working on the sizing. Have that a bit narrower for my windows or my portals. I have another. Delete that and duplicate that one now. And that should be all right, I think. So what I'm going to do is align these windows together. So highlight those and use the alignment tool to align them at the top. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to select all 3 of these shapes and duplicate them. Put them over here. Now what I'm going to do is actually punch these windows and the door out of this cabin here, but you don't have to do that. You could just leave it solid if you like, and then just paper piece the door and the 2 windows with the portholes on top. But I'm going to punch these out, and then I can always paper piece in the windows again, or I can put something behind it, whatever I like. So I'm going to do that by highlighting the just move that out of the way. I'm going to highlight those and choose process overlap or divide. And I think I'll use divide because then I'll have those inner pieces, the circles and the door there, left behind. So I can pull those out like that, and then I have those available if I need them. I'll pull this back up, bring it to the front, and now I want to make the frames for the door and the windows. You can select all three of those because I'm going to put the same amount of space around each one. So I'll use offset and outward direction, spacing. I'll try 12. All right. So that has now formed that. And again, I can either subtract or use the divide function. I'll use the divide again. And then I'll pull these over here. Onto the openings. Give that some color. Do the same with this one. And that will go over top of the holes that are already there, like that. You probably should have had that a little more that way, but that's fine. Okay, let's bring this back up to front. So this is what we have so far. Now I'm going to have, actually I'm going to group that, so there. I'm going to work on the, I guess you could call it the control room, or whoever the captain steers the boat. So I can keep hold of that for now, and then I can place that over top of there. Right. Next is the chimney stack, which is going to go into this area here. So go to shapes and down here to the others. I think that one there should do. I'm going to change the angle on that so it's upright. Go to 90 degrees. Let's it's going to go into this area. Actually, I'll have it so it sort of overlaps that. And it comes up a bit as well. Right. Okay. Make that a little bit taller and bring it out about there. And then I'm just going to take a little rectangle should do, or a square. I'm going to put a little band across here. And that will just be paper pieced over top of that. Then let's have a look. Looking pretty good. Select all of that and make a duplicate. And then I'm going to weld it together. And this is what's going to be placed behind the tugboat, so that you can actually build up the tugboat on top of this mat here. So I want to get rid of the openings, of course. So we've got a couple of different choices. We could, first of all, click on the shape and expose the nodes, and then just drag across those nodes and delete them like that. Or you could bring in another shape, say this square here, and just place it over top of the shapes that we want to cover. And that would be just a matter of selecting and welding them. And there we have our mat that we can use to place behind our finished tugboat. So I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of these pieces. I don't think I'm going to need those now. And I'm also going to bring in a bit of the sea. That I'm going to go to shapes and to borders. Because there's a border down here that looks a bit like waves. There we are. And I can then resize that and place it on the front here. have that to the front so that we can see what that would look like. We just have little waves splashing up along the boat. There's one other thing I want to do, and that's to bring in an anchor. Now for that I have a file that is a royalty-free file, and at the moment it's in a format that can be traced. It's at a PNG. It's this one here. I'm going to trace around all areas, bring that in. I'll resize that. Get it about where I want it, so have it here on the side of the tugboat. Something like that. Want to ungroup that because this one here is just the image. So I can just get rid of that. Don't need both of those. I'll come in here like that. And there, I believe, is everything I need for my tug. So now I just can prepare it, send to the machine. So I'll divide all these pieces up, and I want to be sure that I ungroup this, because if I send it grouped to the machine, I will not be able to ungroup it once it's over there. That should be everything. So as long as everything is within the red bounding area, and we can take a look by selecting all objects on the mat, and that's all it's finding. So now it's ready to send over the internet and ready to be cut out and then placed together to form our card. So I'll be back in just a little bit as soon as I've finished cutting this out, and I'll put the card together. Cut my cardstock for the 5x7 card base. This is a piece of 10 by 7, and I'm going to score it at 5 inches. And then I'll fold it and burnish it. Now in this case, I'm not going to use a separate mat. I'm just going to use a backing paper that is cut at 4 7/8 by 6 7/8, because this is going to fill up most of that card anyway, so I don't really need a mat around it. Put this down first. So there's just a tiny bit of white around the sides. And then I have all my pieces cut. And what I've done also is to
double them up. So I've glued two of the shapes together just to give it a little more dimension. And then now I'm going to place them on my tugboat. So what I'll do now is I'll speed up the video and you can watch and I'll be back. I'm going to go around with some ink. That will help to grunge it up a little bit, as well as hide some of that white card that's under there. I'm just using some brushed corduroy distress ink. Now I'm going to place it. I thought what I might do is just have it tilted just a little like that. And I can still have my waves here, like so. Other little pieces that were left over from another project. This is from the record player card. I just thought I might see if I could find places for them, just to help jazz this up a bit. So it's going to have a little bit of a play. And now I've got a sentiment here. Happy birthday, which I'm just going to put on a bit of foam tape here. And then I've got some glossy accents that I'm going to add in as well. I'm going to go around these trim. And I'll go around the portals as well. When that dries, you'll see be quite glossy, but for now it's going to be a bit shadowy until it actually dries. And the anchor as well. That will help that to stand out a bit as well. There we are. I think that's going to be it. Our little tugboat card. Using our Canvas Workspace to create this little file, and now you have it forever and ever if you ever want to make it again. So much for joining me today for this Canvas Workspace project and for the little card that we made using what we designed, and I do hope that you enjoyed this. If you aren't already subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so today, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future videos. In the meantime, please stay safe and crafty hugs. Bye.